Scott. I'm Sam Jackson.
My name is Derek Ennis.
I'm Khalil Davis, and you're watching the Sons of UCF Live.
And you're watching Sons of UCF Live.
You're watching the Sons of UCF.
You're watching the Sons of UCF Live.
I'm Dylan Gabriel, and you're watching the Sons of UCF.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Big 12, here we come. UCF gets ready to build on the Boise State win with Bethune Cookman coming to town, and we are opening the mailbag to answer your questions. Let's welcome in the Sons of UCF, Adam and Mike, a Power 5 podcasting duo, if I do say so myself.
Trace, is that you? Is it a hologram? Is this true? Are you in live full color? Right? Yeah, we see you moving. This is fantastic. It's the first time the three of us have been together on a live show in a long time.
100 feet of Ethernet cable will get you going.
There you go.
Oh, you got direct connection this week, huh?
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
All right.
Mike, how are you? What are you preparing for this weekend's tailgate after the success of the potato salad over the weekend?
Unfortunately, I will not be making it to Orlando for this week's game. So I haven't prepared to tailgate. I'll probably be at the watch party here in Fort Lauderdale at the Brass Tap, if you want to catch me there.
That sound you hear is
that
sound you hear is potato salad sales dropping everywhere.
Solid job on multiple kinds of potato salad. I will
yeah, we had every type. I think we had New York style, Southern style. What was the other one? Red style. And it really came in handy there at the end during that rain delay when I just downed a whole container by myself.
It should have been captured on video like that guy dumping mayonnaise on himself during college game day. I would have liked to have seen that. So big news, guys. The Big 12, as I said, here we come. UCF officially submitting their application to the Big 12. League presidents meet Friday, and late today, UCF has scheduled an emergency meeting of the Board of Trustees to consider this Big 12 application, as well as Brandon Helwig is reporting on UCFsports.com, an extension on the credit line from $5 to $10 million. Seems that this application, this piece of paper, costs $5 million that the Big 12 wants. But this pretty big news coming on Friday for UCF.
Yeah, this is not a drill. This appears to be real life. I know feel like we've been on the precipice of this a few different times, and this appears to be it. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. I have neither chickens nor hatching, but I don't want to count either of those things. But it appears all signs are pointing UCF to the Big 12. And really, I guess there's a few things. I'm sure we'll get into this a little further, but I think for me, I just feel the gratitude of the folks who've grinded it out since 1979 to get us to this point. Obviously, it's I think I saw Christian Simmons post that UCF is the youngest university into a Power 5 program outside of Florida State, I think, if I have that right. So you got to feel good for the guys who've been around forever, the guys who saved the program. We talked to Darren Slack. He talked about that playoff team, Gene McDowell, and what he did. Obviously, Manny Messiger on the staff, George O'Leary, Mike Kruzek, everybody involved. You got to feel for all the people who laid the foundation, and to be 24-ish hours away from seeing an opportunity to vault into that quote unquote autonomous category. I just feel gratitude for those folks who made all this happen for UCF.
This is a landmark day in UCF history. Tomorrow afternoon, when we finally get into the Big 12, we've been waiting for this forever, boys, and now we finally made it to the big time. And who knew? All it turns out was to apply, because that's what everybody's been telling us. Why don't you guys just apply to be in a bigger conference? And guess what? Tomorrow we're doing that, and we're getting in.
It has been a long journey, a winding road, but it is a journey unique to UCF, and it is almost here. Mike, your good friend, the commissioner of the AAC, Mike Oresco, who, was rumored, say, a month ago to be raiding the Big 12 when it was, wounded after Texas and Oklahoma's departure to the SEC. He's out with that quote: the schools leaving have had success, but they're not dynasties. We'll add schools and we'll replenish and reconstitute. Mike sounds just a little bitter.
Yeah, I'd say so. The three schools with the highest winning percentage since the American has created in 2013, I believe 6 out of the 8 years it's been around, these were the champions. The only teams to go and win a New Year's Six Bowl, us and Houston. So he's definitely salty, and he's left now without a pot to piss in, I guess. What's the saying?
I think that's the saying.
That was it. That was it.
He's going to be scrounging now for teams. He's going to have to go out and begging teams like FAU, FIU, Appalachian State. Who wants to join this conference that now is going to be making a lot less money now that they've lost their 3 big-time schools?
But what did we think he was going to say, right? I mean, this is, your girlfriend or your boyfriend leaves you. What do you say? I didn't need him anyway. I'm going to find somebody better. I mean, what do we expect Oresco to say? This is on brand for him. I think a lot of the I'll borrow Lee Wigglesworth picture here. The saltiness that we've had with him is that he hasn't really supported or backed UCF. I think the times that that we wanted him to come out and sort of carry the flag for us, he really wasn't there to answer the bell when that took place. So this is on brand for Oresco. I don't know why we expect anything different. He's going to be salty. His conference, obviously. And if those reports are true, Trace, he went from being on the doorstep of trying to make a coup to make his conference better to being on the back porch and watching the train leave the station. I mean, that's a quite a flip for Oresco. I mean, I don't suppose he's going to lose his job over this because I don't know what that looks like, but that's quite a flip from, hey, we're going to steal some schools, so watching the moving van leave the stadium.
Power 6, baby. Even without UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati, we will see if those replacements, as Mike mentioned, include the likes of Appalachian State, FAU, UAB, and others. The announcement expected tomorrow, but no word yet from UCF's media relations of any scheduled press conference. So if I can make it out to UCF on Friday, I will do so. And it will be plenty to talk about all across UCF land. But we're still talking about UCF's come from behind win. You guys spoke so well about it on the podcast earlier this week. UCF with that 36-31 win, down 21 early. I know with the weather delays, there was anxiousness amongst the crowd with that start. The polls out, UCF up to 28th at AP, 34th in the coaches. I don't know that a win over Bethune is going to vault them into the top 25. Maybe they'll need that game at Louisville, which did not look good Monday against Ole Miss. And Mike, I know as much as you love preseason polls and early season polls, I know you love bold projections. Action Network has Notre Dame, UCF in the Fiesta Bowl. Too early for that, but one good thing about being in the Big 12 is you have better bowl matchups. So perhaps UCF won't have to go to Boston for the Fenway Bowl in December anytime soon.
That's right. There's going to be years where the Big 12 runner-up goes to the Sugar Bowl. If the champion goes to the playoff, and all the way down the line, you're talking about a lot better bowl selection. No more Bad Boy Mowers Bowls, no more Boca Bowls, anything like that. It's playing against SEC teams and ACC teams and Big Ten teams pretty much all the way down the line.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tie-ins are a lot better, right? And the revenue will be better from those bowls. Obviously, I mean, I think the revenue is a huge piece of this moving to the Big 12 pie. The revenue will be better from a UCF perspective. Maybe the possibility for better matchups as well. So, I think I would love a UCF Notre Dame Fiesta Bowl. I'd sign up for that. I think, well, I guess I'd like it on the East Coast, right? Because I don't live on the West Coast anymore. But I would sign up for that kind of a bowl all day of the week.
Well, head coach Gus Malzahn said, while it was good to get the win against Boise, there are still a lot of things to correct.
Our guys played extremely hard, which was very encouraging, but we got to correct our mistakes. And I just told our guys, we've got to improve from game 1 to game 2. That's our goal. It's as simple as that. And we got to have a great week of practice and clean up the things that need to be corrected.
Well, let's go around the horn on 3 things that we like, one each. I'll start the running game, and Isaiah Bowser in particular. Didn't see a lot from other guys, but Bowser carried the rock, 33 carries, more than 170 yards. I liked what I saw from the Gus Malzahn offense. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I put adjustments, Trace. I think, I said this on the show, I feel like in the second half, Gus figured out what was going to work, right? And he figured out, even though it sounded like he admitted in the pressers that he did not plan to run Bowser 33 times in this ballgame, right? But I think he saw where he had the advantage. He saw where he could move the chains. He saw where he could open the passing game, and that became the game plan. And I think that's such a welcome stretch from where we'd been in the past, where we kind of kept sticking to the same thing and hoping at some point we'd pop something. I like the patience. I like the fact that he made adjustments. Defense made the same as well. We joked about second half Randy a bunch throughout the tenure of Randy Shannon, but I think the adjustments on both sides of the ball was a welcome change, particularly on offense.
I love the maturity this team showed, and Gus talked about how they responded to adversity. Going down 21-0, nobody panicked. I mean, me and Adam were panicking a little in the stands, But the guys on the sideline did not panic at all. And it's chipped away, and took over that game in the second half, dominated with that defensive performance in the second half. I loved it. I think Gus showed a very mature team on the sidelines, and it's a good sign going forward.
Now, 3 things we want to see improved. I'm going to borrow from Jeopardy here a little audio daily double. I would like to hear, Adam, if you could play the defensive coordinator Travis Williams' bite. I asked him at the media availability Sunday night, grade the tackling, and he gave a pretty honest answer.
Tackling, we got to get better at tackling. To be honest with you, we have to tackle guys. If we get our bodies on them, we get our hands on them, they got to get on the ground. So we have to be better at tackling. Today, that's what we did. We did a tackling circuit. You still teach the fundamentals of tackling. We're not a coaching staff that say get them on the ground. You got to make that play. No, we're going to show you exactly what you need to do.
All right, so that's an area that I'd like to see improvement on from the defense.
I kind of want to tackle somebody right now myself after listening to that. But for me, and this is going to sound weird from a guy who threw 4 touchdowns, but I feel like the passing game in particular was just a tick off the entire night. It felt like it was just a little bit out of rhythm. There are, I think, a few times where Dylan got happy feet and kind of flushed the pocket a little bit early. Obviously, early on, there was a couple of protection breakdowns. So it felt like the passing game, for as much success as they had with 4 touchdowns, was just a tick off throughout the night, which I think is to be expected first game. You don't know what the defense is throwing at you. Gus alluded to the fact that Boise came out in one look, and stop me if you've heard this before. Boise came out in a look they weren't expecting, and so they had to take time to adjust to that, right? But so it was just a tick off throughout the night. Obviously, it still resulted in the win. I think that'll improve over time, but I think the running game really carried our offense, particularly in that second half, and I think that the passing game has a little bit of work to do to catch up.
Well, speaking of DG in the passing game, 2 interceptions, should have been 3, and that third one would have been a real killer if that happened. But I'd like to see more of a variety in the backfield. I know Bowser had a hell of a game, and you got to feed the guy when he's going like that, but we can't do that to him all season. I don't know if this guy is Kevin Smith with 400-plus carries for the season. We have other backs. Johnny Richardson only touched the ball 3 times. I think we'll see that this week, but we got to keep Bowser fresh throughout the whole year. We can't wear this guy out in the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, and this is the weekend to do it with Bethune Cookman coming to town. Kalia Davis, AAC Defensive Player of the Week. He DM'd me earlier in the week and asked if I'd give a shout out to his newsletter, which I have subscribed to. It's a good read. He did a good job with it on the first edition. If you haven't, give a subscription to that. So we transitioned from Boise State. And again, you guys did an excellent job of breaking it down to Bethune Cookman. They'll come down I-4 from Daytona Beach and hook over to East Orlando for the game, 6:30 in the Bounce House. Fans wear gray, and how about the uniform combination released just a little while ago, if you haven't heard? Anthracite jersey, anthracite pants, and the white helmet with the script Knights, sort of like Adam's shirt, a unique design.
Well, maybe foreshadowing, because this was the free T-shirt that was given to me as I walked in to the cabana where nobody checked my tickets, by the way. So this was the free T-shirt handed out. So maybe a bit of a foreshadowing. Maybe they knew this was coming in advance. The uniform stuff is always cool. Obviously, how many people own anthracite, by the way? I feel like that's a weird fans wear color. But the Bethune game, obviously, look, you never want to overlook an opponent. They're going to put their helmets on. They're going to play as hard as they can as well. You would hope that we would have more depth, more athletes to be able to make this a game that is out of reach early on. And you'd hope that you'd get some additional run for guys. I said on the show this week on Sunday's headlines today that this should be Mikey Keene time. Hopefully, this should be Mikey Keene's fourth quarter or something along those lines to get some reps in there. Hopefully that's what you get out of Bethune. But again, you can't take anybody lightly. We've seen these things happen before. We've seen teams hang around. So it'll be a mark of Gus. Can he get the team up and ready for this game after, such a high from the Boise game and everything that went on and, all the publicity coming out, Big 12, the ESPN Plus show, there's going to be a lot of emotions. Can he get them back and focused to take on a team that in all perpetuity, we should be beating pretty handily on Saturday?
He just needs to let them know this is a rivalry game, folks. This is one of our oldest rivals of all time. I believe we played Bethune maybe more than anybody else. If not, we're right up there with them. So the old timers, the guys that we were talking about earlier that are so happy about joining Big 12, they remember these games. We have a 10-6 record, I believe, against these guys. We haven't played them since 2014. And the uniform thing is news to me. I didn't get to see that release. I like the script on the side. Is it scripted on both sides of the helmet? Are they doing a nitro head on one side?
I think it's just one side of the helmet, and in the photos released by UCF, being modeled by Latavius Murray, who was recently cut by the New Orleans
He's
Saints.
available, yeah,
and has a little bit of free time this week to be a model for UCF. But yeah, really nice. It's scripted on the Knights on one side of the helmet.
So what's the other side? Do we know?
I think it's still the block UCF.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that'll work. Sometimes you see them go with the knight head, or some people put the numbers on. We haven't done that yet. So this is a new thing. We haven't seen the script version before. So something new this year.
Yeah, and remember a couple seasons back when Bam Moore was hurt in a game that had gotten away, right? And UCF was up big. You want to come out of this game with no injuries. Saturday night, 6:30, they come back around. They have Louisville on the road, first road game of the year on Friday, so a little bit of a shorter work week. But definitely you want to come out of this without injuries, and you want to see guys like Mikey Keene get some play.
Yeah, and I think our friend Nelson said it correctly. Injury-free is obviously the goal here, right? You don't want to see a bad injury happen. You don't want to see somebody taken out that doesn't need to be taken out. So hopefully we stay injury-free throughout the entire thing. And you get some young guys to get some run. Obviously it was interesting to hear see Gus's depth chart. You didn't see a lot of guys. I don't think I saw Jordan Johnson from Notre Dame get any run from a receiver perspective. You didn't see the two junior college guys, Jalen Griffin or Cade Robinson, get any run. So it'd be good to get some of those guys some time on the field, get them ready. You never know when a guy's going to be needed. We saw Titus step up big. I think a kid that was on the depth chart, but we didn't see where maybe where he fits in. He came in big with a huge touchdown and almost lost his head during a punt return, which hopefully he figured that out. But hopefully you get some guys some run, because you never know when you're going to need somebody.
And remember, this is a short week. The next game's a Friday night, so the earlier you get these guys out, the better.
How about that? Hello, Eric Skidmore. K-State fan here, pumped for UCF to come to the Big 12. Been getting a lot of Twitter followers from Big 12 conference schools that have been welcoming to UCF. Difficult for them to see Texas and Oklahoma depart and not know what their futures held, but they look that they're regrouping and they're ready to go. So that announcement coming Friday. Let's talk a little bit more about that and the game. A recent guest on the podcast, former UCF quarterback Nick Patty, also formerly with Boise State. Nick, welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Let's begin with this. The Big 12 comes a-calling. What do you think of that?
I think it is awesome. What great news. First off, thanks for having me back on, guys. Had a lot of fun last time and been looking forward to this one with all the good news. But, man, what a great pair, I think. I've thought that for quite some time, and I thought that was our path into a different conference. I think we have a great fit. I think it's going to be a great marriage along with who we're coming with. I think it's going to be a really good add for the entire Big 12, but man, what a big day for UCF athletics.
Well, that almost overshadows the win against Boise, Nick. And one of the things I want to ask you about is prior to the game, obviously there was a gigantic weather delay. Teams came out to warm up, then they had to go back in the locker room. They didn't know when they were playing, right? Every 5 minutes, it was another 45 minutes. Take us into the mind of a quarterback. What's that like, having to warm up, then come back in the locker room, not knowing when you're coming out, not knowing when you're going to warm up again? What kind of adjustments would you have to make from a QB perspective with some of those delays from a weather standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's extremely challenging. Everyone would probably have their different cliche of, you stay ready, whatever. All the work is done, the preparation, even the day of the game. I mean, you're not cramming really a lot of information. Nothing's changing. You have everything you need, really. But I think it's just the nerves, dealing with the nerves and sort of tampering down the expectations. Being out there for warm-ups, there was obviously some juice in the stadium. So, I think what a challenging environment being Coach Malzahn's first game. You've got a ton of expectations for this team. You got a lot of transfer guys that it's their first time in the bounce house. And the delay was so long, you don't even know if we're going to play the game, right? And so it's like, where does this go from here? And so I think from the mind of a quarterback, you kind of just got to continue to communicate with your guys. You just got to kind of keep it cool in the locker room. Maybe talk about a little game plan stuff, but don't blow your brains out, because it's so much. Usually it's not that long, but that was so much time. Really unique circumstance. But I thought they came out guns blazing, which it's hard not to. Like I said, a lot of energy. But I was really proud and happy to see that they came out with some juice regardless of that kind of circumstance. You saw that Boise's quarterback was on in a Zoom in his class during the delay.
Obviously, Dylan with some spectacular plays, some touchdowns, but also a few interceptions. What did you think of his overall performance, his first time in the Gus Malzahn system?
I thought he did really well. I think that it's a little bit different than what Coach Heupel did specifically. There's some similarities in the run game and certainly in some of the, formational stuff. The speed is similar, but I think the passing game is a little bit different. Where Heupel loved to take a bunch of shots, and I think the flow of the offense is a little bit different from what Gus likes to do, which I think will be good all around, and I think we're really suited for it. I thought he looked really good. I thought there was some transitional things to where he likes to just rip it sometimes, and I think he's going to have to learn to tamper that down a little bit. I thought he moved around really well and tucked it. I think he had like 12 carries that were recorded, which a lot of those are out of the pocket runs and such. So, I thought he created well. I thought he led the offense really good. Obviously, he has the 2 picks that were, tough picks. One of which was really questionable up the sideline. I thought he even had the guy. It was just a poor throw or poor read. And then the other one, obviously early on, is really hard. There was so much energy. There was all, we were moving the ball really well, and then sort of take the air out. But I think it's great that you could see him respond that way. I think it's great that you could see him have a pick early on that leads to points. We go down really quickly, and then, boom, they stay in the game. They've got confidence in the system. I think that shows his maturity and the snaps that he's taken over the past couple of years.
In the post game, I asked Dylan about getting into the flow of the game, and he acknowledged no excuse, but they haven't played a competitive game in a while. Talk about that a little bit. Just getting into the flow of a game, getting your feet back under you, and being out there on the field.
Yeah, it's a major aspect of it. Week 1, there's no secret to why a lot of these teams play a little bit. Traditionally play a softer schedule week 1. I think all around college football, this was a little different week 1. There were some great matchups, but that tune-up game, if you will, is not there's no secret behind that. There's a conditioning aspect to it to where you're not really in game shape, and that is certainly a thing. You go through fall camp, and that's a different kind of being in shape, and summer workouts, et cetera. But game speed, game shape, in a different environment in the game, in the stadium, with fans, et cetera. So, I think that it was a really good, week 1, because there was a lot of buzz around us, and I would have hated to have seen that wasted on an opponent that, was maybe questionable, right? So I think it was a cool opportunity for us to put that into a really good opponent. I think Boise's a really good football team, and they showed that. I think it'll get even cleaner. We didn't have a ton of penalties. I thought we played fairly clean. You had a couple turnovers here and there. There's a couple missed tackles and such. But overall, I was pretty pleased with a week 1. You come out against a Boise team that's good and proven, and they had some talent that's played. So I was pleased.
Nick, in the first half, Boise seemed to have no trouble moving the ball on offense. They seemed to be in a pretty good rhythm. Scored, obviously, 2 times on offense as well. Second half was a different story. From your trained perspective, how much of that was Boise getting conservative on offense, and how much do you think of that was the Knights defense kind of stepping up and figuring them out?
From what from what you see, right, and you're not in the locker room, but I thought that we made some adjustments on defense that were a difference maker. I think that they adjusted. Boise likes to do a lot of, different formation, shifts in motion, smoke and mirrors type stuff. And I think that slowed down for UCF a little bit in the second half. I think they got a little bit comfortable with what they were doing. And, they changed up their fronts a little bit. They brought a little bit more pressure in the second half. I mean, I think that they did things well. They certainly made adjustments, which I think leads to the point of they figured out some of the things that Boise was doing. And they, I wouldn't say that Boise got complacent, but they slowed down a little bit. I think they slowed their tempo down. You could see that by the snaps. I mean, I don't know what the time of possession was, but I think we had 20 plus more snaps than they did on the offense side of the ball. So it shows that they slowed down things a little bit. And I think that they we score, right before half, you get the ball back and you can sense this shift happening in the momentum. And I definitely think they played to that a little bit, which makes things a lot easier on a defense, but you have to capitalize. And our defense did. I loved their energy. They ran around. I think they've got a ton of talent on that side of the ball, and it showed.
Nick, you played for Boise State as well. And a couple of weeks ago on our podcast, you weren't really committing to which T-shirt you were going to be wearing to the game. When we were down 21-0, did you have a blue shirt on under? Did you thought about taking off?
I did not. It was I went with UCF polo, but I wore both my bowl rings for both schools, so I figured I'd switch it up that way. So no, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a really special night to see those two teams on the field. I never thought I'd get to experience that. Certainly a special thing for me. Two teams that really shouldn't be playing, if you will, polar opposites of the coast. So. Really cool experience and certainly lived up to the hype.
Big Cat Bryant, Kalia Davis, a force on the D-line. No sacks, but they stuffed that Boise run.
I think it's going to be an extreme force in the conference when we get into some conference play and we get into, they get comfortable in the scheme. And I think, one of the things within the scheme that I think will be interesting to see when the linebackers and the defensive line can really get into sync with, how each other are playing. When the linebackers can get used to exactly how much Big Cat Bryant's going to plug up there. And like you said, it didn't lead to a bunch of sacks, but he's still causing a lot of havoc within the offensive line. And so when the linebackers can get used to, okay, when there's a pulling guard, when there's zone run game and all that, and they can get used to what to expect from that, because it's a little bit tricky from their perspective. You see a pulling guard and he might take two guys. When they can get used to it, I think that's going to be really fun to watch. And the secondary obviously will benefit from that as well.
More exciting news, Nick, this week. We learned that UCF is going to be featured on the ESPN Plus series, Our Time. So cameras will be following the team around throughout the season. As a player, do you have any concerns about that? Do you think that's a distraction at all? As a senior leader, do you have any concerns that the young guys or anyone's going to get kind of, really a camera hog or try to kind of step out themselves and potentially, maybe do something they shouldn't do?
I think, you hope not, right? But it's almost like the day and age that we're in with all the distractions that they have, it's constant for these guys right now, and the young kids coming in, they've had to deal with being able to use their likeness already. They've had to, you can capitalize on your brand now. So I don't think this is really any different than that. What you hope to see is that they don't utilize this to try to, blow themselves out of proportion for that, perspective. We could talk about this, I think, for 5 hours, and I have a huge opinion on it. It's not the best thing for the game. It takes a little purity out of it, but it also will bring some great college, entertainment for some of these personalities that really can capitalize on it. I don't know. I think Coach Malzahn and the staff really seem to have a good grip on where they want to take this team and the culture of this team. I think it's got a really good core of mature veteran guys that can drag those guys along. And those guys have so much power within a locker room. Even the transfers, but guys that have snaps, guys that have played and they've proven themselves, and even 1 week in have certainly proven themselves at UCF. So, you lean on those guys. It's cliche. You lean on your seniors and juniors, but it is a real thing. And I hope not. I think it's great. That's why you come to UCF, right? That's a recruiting tool. It's like you're going to have exposure. You're going to be featured on this, and you're going to have the platform to play well and get to the next level, whatever it may be. So I hope our guys can handle it. And I trust that the staff is good at it. Coach Malzahn's no stranger to the bright lights, right? Being at Auburn, there's a ton of exposure. He knows how to handle this, and he knows how to handle divas and prima donnas and all that, whatever it may be. So it's no stranger to the game now. And you hope that they can just tie that into just one more distraction that they got to deal with.
Is there any chance in hell George O'Leary would have signed up for an Our Time series? And if he did, Nick, what would the rating of that series have been?
My God. They could only pray to get George O'Leary on an Our Time series. I'd say no, that there's no chance that he would ever sign up for that. But, man, it would have been entertaining. That's for sure.
That would have been awesome. So
yeah, I would pay. I'd pay to watch that for sure.
We're all giddy right now. We're coming off a big win. We're joining the Big 12. We're on ESPN Plus. What's one thing you're concerned about going forward for the rest of this year?
Louisville. No, I think that there's a couple sleeper games on the schedule early on that Navy really being one of them. That's one of those games that can put a defense into a tizzy, right? It's a different look that we don't get to see all the time. You can't replicate it on scout team. Louisville is going to be a cool environment to go into, and obviously that a few years ago was an incredible game that a lot of people will remember. And so there's a couple sleeper games, and you worry about a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. I worry about health and longevity, especially after last week at the running back position. And I know, it'll be interesting to see how that position sort of pans out throughout the season. I think Bowser got like 33 carries, 30 plus carries. Dylan was the second leading rusher as far as attempts was concerned at 12 or something like that, which a lot of those were scrambles. So I'd like to see him spread it out a little bit on just as far as carries is concerned, because he looked really good, man. And he looked like he could carry the load. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes and what that position looks like. We've had some bad breaks, but that's one thing that I worry about a little bit, spreading out the longevity of it.
No trickeration in this game, no wild night package, but you know that Gus Malzahn has that up his sleeve. Nick Patty, we thank you for stopping by the Sons of UCF Live. Save this 8 o'clock time slot, would you? And maybe hop back on with us to review and preview some games as the season moves along.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me. Always a good time.
Right. Thanks, Nick. Good stuff there from Nick Patty. So we put a bow on this, and if you need more analysis, of course, you guys did a great job on it on the podcast. Come out with a win. It made for good fodder in the ESPN Plus show that I saw just before we went live. Adam, you saw it. What did you think?
Yeah, listen, it's a nice 30-minute infomercial for UCF, right? If you are a fan of UCF, you're going to eat this up. You're going to love it. It's kind of like Netflix, plus another 10 minutes or so. If I have to have any gripe, and because why would I not have a gripe? I would have liked a little bit more inside access. You saw a little bit of the coaching booth, right? You saw some of the play calls. There was a time where Dylan Gabriel, after he threw, I think, the second INT, he goes to the bench, gets on the headset. I would have loved to have heard that conversation. What did Kinney say to him? What did he say back? What did he see? So I would have loved a little bit more insight if I'm being selfish and just being critical. But again, as a UCF alum, a 30-minute infomercial on ESPN Plus once a week. Outside of a free 12-pack of seltzer, nothing would make me happier.
I loved every second of it. I was so pumped up when I woke up this morning and it was already available. I watched it at about 5 o'clock this morning. And I loved watching Gus Malzahn on the sidelines. I mentioned earlier how calm he was. When we were down 21-0, he was just cool as ice on the sidelines. When we scored that touchdown right before the half, he said, "We're going to win this game. We won this game already," he said. And it's the same thing I told Adam in the stands when that happened. So I love this show, man. I'm going to be tuned in every single week, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. As if though the game recap and this Big 12 news weren't big enough, UCF dropped the news earlier in the week that their Athletics Hall of Fame, after taking 2020 off because of COVID, announcing pretty stellar class here, huh? Quarterback Blake Bortles, the Boat, offensive lineman Josh Sitton, Jermaine Taylor, basketball standout, softball's Natalie Land, and track and field's Afia Charles. Not a bad class, going to be recognized on Saturday, October 9th during the ECU game, the ceremony on Friday, October 8th. Good to see the Hall of Fame class. These are 5 deserving inductees.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to do a name drop here, though, Trace, if you don't mind. So I was on another podcast, the Jeff Allen Podcast Experience, the other night with Eric Lopez. And I asked Elo this question. So there was a stipulation in the guidelines that you had to be a graduate of UCF in order to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Obviously, both Blake Bortles and Jermaine Taylor left early, so I don't have clarity on whether they came back and got their degree or how that worked. Elo did some research and reached out to some sources and discovered that the terminology was they were still in quote-unquote good academic standing. So I don't know if that means anything's been changed or massaged, but it's good to see that rule has been waived. I mean, in Blake Bortles' case, he was the number 3 overall pick. What did you want the guy to do, right? Like he was going to a pro career. He was going into a good position at that point in time. So glad to see if there's been any rules that kind of kept some folks out deservingly that we've been able to adjust for that. And then Josh Sitton is one of our favorites. I know Mike and I had Matt Prater on the show once, and he told a hilarious story about how, George O'Leary basically made fun of Josh Sitton's weight for an entire trip to Hawaii. And a 2-star kid out of Pensacola. He's like the quintessential GOL recruit. So it's good to see some of those guys get in. Elo said Jermaine Taylor, the best UCF basketball player of all time. I let him know that Bo Clark was on the line and want to have a word with him. But either way, good to see those guys get into the Hall of Fame.
Jermaine Taylor, I don't think it could be argued the best athlete we've seen on the basketball court. That guy was amazing. He could dunk. He could do it all. And the football guys sitting borderline Hall of Famer in his NFL career, I think. He had a very solid NFL career, Pro Bowler multiple times. And, of course, Blake's always going to have a special place in our heart. The first Fiesta Bowl, always scoring with a smile on his face. I loved watching Blake play.
What do you think about the number of 5 inductees? Do you think that's the right number for a class? Because you're always going to have a couple of football guys, and how do you get some of the other sports in? Are you comfortable with 5, or would you like to see more?
Yeah, I don't like when you cap it, right? The NFL does this too, where they can only have 5, or there's only 5 good guys this year, right? But I also understand that you don't want classes of 19 and 20 and 25 people. I feel like if you have a good voting process and you have a good committee, you can stretch it to 7 to 10 if that's what's needed for a year. I don't think you should cap it, but I do think there should be some consideration for, not everyone's. This isn't the Hall of Very Good, right? It's the Hall of Fame. It should be reserved for the best. But to say, well, only 5 people are good this year, I mean, that's just archaic at that point.
We should ask O'Leary. He's in a lot of Hall of Fames.
I've heard about that, yes.
He probably knows the rules on a bunch of them. So we call him up and see what the standard is.
Call him up. You got his number. Why isn't he on the show tonight?
He made news. He made news all week, Trace.
He did make news. Part of my poll question this week was, should the war on I-4 rivalry continue now with UCF expected to join the Big 12, the Cows left behind? 73% said yes, and it was George O'Leary and his quote that was very interesting this week, saying USF is finding out that most of the time in life you get what you deserve. Classic GOL.
Only would have been better if he said, get what you deserve and stuff. Like he should have really punctuated it with a GOLism. Here's my take on the Cows. I know there's a lot of conversation on the Cows. Mike and I spent a few minutes on the Cows. I think we may even have a soundbite from that in a few moments here. We spent a lot of time on the Cows on the podcast. I'm done with the Cow. We have much bigger things to worry about than what's going to happen over there to our friends in West Tampa. It's going to be what it's going to be. It's been a great rivalry. I think Mike put this on the show really well. We had rivalries in the MAC. We had rivalries in the CUSA. We had rivalries in Division I AA. Sometimes those things come to a halt. Trace, I think you mentioned that. I think it was Stetson was a huge rival for a long time for us, right? Or Rollins, one of those two. Yeah. And those things just come to an end. We have much bigger things to worry about in terms of getting into the Big 12, adjusting. Let's not forget, by the way, it's been a long time since a quote unquote group of 5 team got into a Power 5 conference. The last really example is TCU into the Big 12, by the way, and they struggled the first couple of years in the Big 12. I'm not suggesting we're TCU and we'll do the same, but there's a lot of adjustment to be made. And I think the last thing we should do is worry about what's going on to our friends who are breaking fake ground and fake sand at a fake practice facility.
I would love to keep beating up on these guys every year. Personally, the way that the rivalry is going now, we own it, and it's good to be able to take the lead this year and next year, and then be done with them for a little while. But their out-of-conference schedule is filled up in the next few years. They're going to play only the big boys, and maybe we can be on that little graphic they have where you want to play the best, you got to beat the best, whatever the hell that thing says, and they'll have a UCF logo, and we can put our score on there too.
This show and your show are usually family friendly. And then I started to see on Twitter mentions of, about 14 minutes in on the show. And I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to this. I didn't want to scroll ahead. I just want to listen in real time. And well, Adam, why don't we play a little of that moment?
Do we have a censor on this show? Are you able to bleep stuff out? Because I'm about to say something right now.
All right.
Just mark it down the time.
Okay.
The Cows.
Okay.
How's that?
If you go back and listen to the episode, though, you'll get the full version. not the censored version.
Yeah, he warned me to bleep it out, and I completely forgot to bleep it out. So for those of you who are driving with your kids, listen, it's the cow. It's the only time that phrase is applicable when you're referring to the cows. I think that's a gimme. That's a hall pass situation. I think it's the only time that's forgivable.
Yeah, I mentioned pissing in a pot earlier in this episode, so I don't know how that falls in the guidelines either.
Mike, you're very candid about the cows, but as you point out, they've got their schedule full. They play the Gators over in South Florida and Tampa on Saturday, and I don't know when they'll get it scheduled. And Big 12 has left open the door that it might not just be 4; they might take some more, and it'd be interesting to see their talk of the indoor practice facility. And now some of their folks are talking about maybe, just maybe, they need an on-campus stadium. If they could get their act together, and we haven't seen examples of that since they reached number 2 in the polls, it's possible that they would be attractive to further expansion in the Big 12. So thank you, Mike, for the colorful moment of the week on the show. Going around the kingdom, women's soccer, Ellie Moreno has connected on a goal, and women's soccer now leads 1-0 at Ole Miss.
It's a blowout.
They're the 17th ranked team in the country, women's soccer. AAC Offensive Player of the Week, Kristen Scott's 2 goals. They were knocked off number 7 Penn State to move to 3-2. Coming in on Sunday, North Carolina. That is a big matchup. Volleyball beat Clemson, then dropped 2 to South Carolina. They're 2-4, but a tough schedule. They've got a pretty good one this weekend. They've got Florida Gulf Coast, FSU, and Georgia in the UCF Invitational. In men's soccer, they started off last year 1-3 and turned it around. They're now 1-3, drop a pair of 2-1 games, number 10 Virginia Tech, North Carolina State. Up next, they will host Florida Gulf Coast in a big Saturday of action. You can go out and see the men's soccer team prior to. So, one of the characters that stopped by the tailgate, I invited to join us on the show. Maybe you saw him wandering around on campus. He goes by the name the Nidalorian, and we welcome him in. Let's see. Well, he's in full, as we would expect. He's also known as Kevin Herr. Nidalorian, welcome into the Sons of UCF Live.
Thanks for having me here tonight. Appreciate it.
Well, I love the voice too. What inspired this? Why are you doing this?
Really, in the pandemic year, I've always been going to different conventions and seeing people wearing these impressive costumes, and thought I always wanted to do that. And when Star Wars Celebration got canceled and all the conventions got canceled, I thought this is the perfect opportunity to do it. So I made the Death Trooper back here, made the Paz Vizsla. And while I was making it, I kept seeing the Tampa Bay Lightning has a Stormtrooper, a couple different costumers wear theirs to the different sports games, and thought, you know what, I could do a UCF theme one just as good as they can. And I think it turned out pretty well with the crossover between the Mandalorian and the UCF.
I don't know what to call you, Nidal. I don't know what to call you, but how long did it take you to make that garb? How many months, hours were you crafting the outfit that you're wearing now?
So I started this probably around February. It's the kind of slow process where a lot of steps have to take place and finish drying and curing entirely before you can move on to the next step. So I do a little bit of after work here, a little bit on a morning I have free here, and slowly it took shape. Started with just some simple sketches on paper, and piece by piece got it together. Some pieces you put together don't work at all, and you scrap them and you start a different piece that you think looks better. And I pretty much wrapped it up maybe 2 weeks before the first kickoff there.
Adam and I got a little taste of what celebrity is like at our tailgate. People were coming over taking pictures with us. How many people stopped you on Thursday night and took pictures with you? How big of a hit were you?
Without exaggerating, it was hundreds. It was incredibly fun getting stopped. Even just walking through Memory Mall and looking at people, not saying a word, and then all of a sudden you say "Go Knights," and they hear the voice and they're like, "Whoa, charge on!" And they're really excited to see you. Wait, stop! Let me get a photo with you real quick. Snap a quick picture. It's always really fun to see all the excitement. The kids walking around waiting for the game, seeing me being super excited. It was a really fun time.
I have found during the pandemic that even with a mask on, when I'm in a photo, I smile. When you take all of these photos, are you smiling behind that mask?
Oh yeah, for sure. The mask does a really good job of making me look serious, but I've just got a big dumb smile under this mask the whole time. It's so much fun.
What does this outfit weigh?
So I put it on with myself at 222 pounds, and then without the outfit, I'm 210. So it's about 12 pounds of stuff I'm wearing.
Have any of your friends or family members or loved ones offered to commit you? Have you gotten any strange looks from people as you share with them that you are indeed the Nightalorian?
Thankfully, not yet. Thankfully, everyone's been really supportive of it. Not supportive enough to want to come out and tailgate and kind of watch over me and make sure I don't step on anybody or fall apart. But everyone thinks it's really cool. Everyone's really excited to see it. When I run up for Halloween to see my family in Charlotte, they're all excited to all dress up in Star Wars costumes with me.
Are you
with
hot?
that
Is it hot? It feels like it's hot.
Gotta be.
It feels like you gotta have to fan or something.
There's 2 fans that run in here. They've got some cell phone charger batteries that run. I found they get me about 7 hours of fan time, which was just not enough with a 3-hour rain delay, unfortunately. But using a lot of athletic clothing compared to the full big jumpsuit and everything has really helped to keep me cool down. The hard part I'm having now is I'm getting sunburned going on my arms in between the parts that you can't actually cover up with armor. So next time I got to apply some sunscreen better.
How do you drink beer with that on?
Sorry?
How do you drink beer with that on? Like, I don't understand how that works.
Well, I took around a 40. It was a pretty good long neck 40, so I was able to get up underneath it and have a good drink of that 40 ounce.
Nice.
That mask, it's got a tinted visor there. And at night, does it make it hard to see the game at night, or how does it work?
During the daytime, it's really nice to have the shade there. It definitely blocks out a lot of sun. As the night goes on, it gets a little tricky, but your eyes do adapt pretty well. So you can see through it pretty good.
So in The Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man rusts. So it rained on Thursday night. Are you knocking any rust off this thing over the last couple of days?
Making these costumes, that's one of the most frustrating parts about it, because you do this great job of sanding down to 2000 grit, making everything look perfectly smooth, using automotive clear coat to make it look perfect, and then you finish that step up and you go, oh, now I got to make it look real. And then you add all kinds of layering of imitation rust and grime and grit and make it look real through the weathering process to make it look like it's actually part of the Star Wars universe. And part of you sheds a tear when you see that perfectly smooth, shiny, mirror finished chrome all of a sudden get really gross and dirty and disgusting. So no real rust came on me from that event, just the rust I had to put there myself.
What's next for you? How do you grow the Nightalorian? Do you attract other folks with you? Do you morph into a new character? I know this is still new. What's next? What's the long-term vision of the Nightalorian brand?
I've got a couple ideas in my head. I'm not willing to talk about them yet because I kind of want to get them implemented and make sure it actually looks right before I go spouting off about it. If there's other out there that want to join up with me, I'd be glad to meet up. I already got hit up with friends on Twitter with the Cougar fan from University of Houston who dresses as a stormtrooper. I'm always happy to support other people who are about as crazy as I am.
Our friend here, Jeffrey Dixon, wants to know, are you bringing that to a Louisville game? Are you taking this on away trips?
I've not been able to look at it just yet. I would really love to. I would have no problem throwing this in the car and going up and travel as long as I can get the time away from work.
But will it work in a carry-on bag on an airline? You're going to have to go through security. Do you put it in the bag or do you just go through the security machine? It's good stuff. Kevin, we appreciate you stopping by the tailgate and you wandering around. I love the photo that UCF got of you, that you were able to get framed in your house. And this backdrop, I don't know. I mean, Nick was in his living room or something. I don't know how you beat what you've got going on there. Nightalorian, at Nightalorian on Twitter. Kevin is the way. Kevin, thanks for stopping by the Sons of UCF Live tonight.
Appreciate it, guys. Go Knights.
Nice, Kevin.
John. I love that. Huh? I love that. Mike, you're a character in and of yourself. You don't need to wear any sort of costume.
Please don't give him any ideas, Trace. Please, for the love of God, let's not give Mike any more ideas.
I'll tell you what, I'd be pretty scared if I walked into that guy's house and I saw that armor laying around. I don't know what's going on in there.
That's just what he showed us. But anyway, let's open that mailbag at Chad UCF. Want some more feedback on Isaiah Bowser? Thought he did awesome, but I think we heard Nick say it. Mike, you've mentioned it. Not with 33 carries. Let's see some other guys get the ball this week.
Yeah, we said it already. This is a perfect week to get the other guys involved. After the Louisville game, we have a bye. So he should be fresh through the first couple games. We really need him for that Cincinnati game. We're going to need him late in the year at SMU and, of course, the championship game.
I was surprised, Trace. I said this in the podcast. I thought he was more of a big bruising back, right? A guy who's going to be 3rd and 2, knock somebody over and fall over for a first down. He was shifty. Yeah. I mean, if you watch the Our Time series, he had like a double jump cut where he broke a big gain. I was surprised at his elusiveness and his quickness. And maybe I just had him pegged incorrectly, but I was definitely surprised. I mean, he didn't have that top end speed that we're used to from our UCF running back, but he definitely got into a rhythm there and made some guys miss. I thought that was a really cool thing to see.
At me and Angus, a little critical of DG. We are willing to look the other way when we win, but what about DG's interceptions when they cost us a game? Do we see more INTs against better defenses? What's the solution? I just harken back to what you said, Mike. This was the big game that he needed to win until the next big game that he needs to win. It's a narrative that some fans don't want to drop.
That's right. If we don't end up scoring at the end and his interception cost us the game, we would be talking about a whole bunch of other things this past week. And a lot of people would be upset and asking that very question. So we got past it. You know, he got away with a couple mistakes, and now he's going to improve from here.
When you touch the ball on every offensive play, you run this risk, right? This is what's going to happen. I think 2 things that you have to take from this that are exciting. One, he bounced back, right? I mean, he threw 4 touchdowns. Obviously, he found a way to win the game. He made winning plays when they need to be made. 2, his teammates picked him up, particularly on defense. And I think that's the key thing. Mistakes are going to happen. Interceptions are going to happen. Find me a quarterback who's thrown, more than 100 balls that's never thrown an INT. It's probably pretty rare. So maybe he got him out of his way early. I think the first one you chalk up and say, he said the ball slipped. It looked like a horrible pass. So I'm going to take his word for it. The second one, I think Nick said it perfectly, a bit of a bad read. Personally, I would have liked to have seen Ryan O'Keefe maybe fight for that ball just a little bit. But either way, I think that you have to take good from it. He rebounded. He had no conscience to it. He came back and the defense picked him up. I think that tells you that even if he makes mistakes, the guys are going to rally around him and they're going to figure out a way to win.
At 2 letters, 2 words, Robert. And I want a big thank you to Robert for organizing a UCF Twitter Mafia meetup on Friday in Oviedo. Great to meet so many folks that love your show and love watching us on Thursday nights. Robert's question, what's the one position group that needs to have the most growth between week 1 and week 2?
I'm going to go. Sorry, Robert actually just got in the chat with Mike, the potato salad-ladorian, which I think we got to get a shirt. So, Chris Robinson, where are you at? But I say defensive backs. I think, it looked like they were giving Boise receivers, at least in the first half, a lot of cushion. And Boise was getting, 8, 7, 10 yards right off the bat. In the second half, that cleaned up a little bit. But you saw some rotations on the back secondary part. Bryson Armstrong started the game as that. I think he was the Knight. They have that position correct. He wasn't the Buck. I'm not quite sure. But it looks like he rotated out and Dylan Lester came in and obviously made a game-winning play. We didn't see a ton of Derek Gaines. So I think that secondary piece, they played okay, but I would like to see them make a step forward and be a little bit more aggressive on the secondary.
Give it the offensive line. I know they did a great job opening up some holes for Bowser, but at the same time, they let a lot of pressure in on Dylan. He saved us a few times being able to scramble away for some pretty good runs, but he did get sacked a couple times. We got to clean that up, especially when you go up against some of the bigger schools like Louisville.
At Salisbury, will Mackenzie Milton, KZ, be the youngest person ever elected to UCF's Athletics Hall of Fame? I don't know. Elo would know that, who's the youngest, but he's certainly going to make it.
I feel like Shaquem Griffin would like a word with you because I don't know who's older between Mackenzie's 24 now. I don't know how old Shaquem Griffin is. If Mackenzie goes on to a coaching career at another school, that could get awkward. So I say give me Shaquem Griffin.
Well, there are guidelines to this, right? You have to wait a certain amount of years after they're done with UCF. And Mackenzie is already how old? He's 25.
24.
20. So I don't know who the youngest person is to date, but if somebody graduates when they're 21 and then you got to wait 5 years, 26, I guess is the earliest.
at Sublime_Night. Does the move to the Big 12 change your answer about which sport you think will win the next national championship for UCF? As you look at sport by sport, for the most part, this is an upgrade going from the American to the Big 12. Obviously, with that Power 5 money, facilities, and the like, you're going to see a greater level of competition. UCF will be able to recruit in all of those sports. I still think you could see that come out of tennis as an area where UCF could win a national championship.
Yeah, this pre-assumes I remember what I said the last time I answered this question. I do think I might have said tennis there, though, Trey. So if I did say that, I will co-sign that. Listen, basketball in particular is going to get a lot harder. Obviously, this is a fantastic basketball league, both men's and women's. So basketball in particular, Johnny Dawkins and Coach A definitely better get prepared and get recruiting out there. So I guess I'll go tennis. And by the way, Elo is in the chat here. Athletes get in as early as 7 to 10 years from when they finish school. So he's on record. Milton will not be the youngest. So there's your answer, Salisbury.
Eric is our fact checker.
So it's when they finish school, not from when they leave UCF, because there's a difference now with Mackenzie.
Yeah. At Hardos Ian, were there any confirmed Gus sightings at a Waffle House Friday morning? You know, he was asked that at the end of the media availability following the game at 2-something in the morning. He was asked that. By the way, his wife was talking about it as she came into the media room, and she kind of rolled her eyes at the fact that it was she wasn't in a big mood to go to Waffle House. But no, he wasn't asked that at his Monday media availability. And none of the media staked out Waffle House. I guess none of the fans did either, because I have seen no reports of that anywhere. At Brian W. Peterson, always with the hypotheticals that are good, considering the game Bowser had. If R.J. Harvey isn't injured, gets the start instead, do we win the Boise game? Of course we do.
Yeah, I guess this question is meant to say, without Bowser's performance, we wouldn't have won the game. I guess I don't know what we have gotten in RJ Harvey. I mean, he looked pretty good at the spring game. I think, in all fairness, having two guys who can maybe carry the ball may have even been a little bit better. Assuming that RJ Harvey, played as well as we hoped he played or we thought he was going to play. So I think that's my biggest concern going forward. Is you can't give Bowser 33 carries a game. I mean, NFL guys don't get that. He's going to be running to the ground by week 4. So to have a second back that you can trust, that you could put in there, and I'm not saying that we don't have trust in the rest of the running backs, but clearly Johnny Richardson, the only other running back, got 3 carries. So we've got to figure out that balance. RJ Harvey would be fantastic right now. So would Batavius Thompson, by the way, would be fantastic to be that second running back, particularly now that we know what we have in Isaiah Bowser.
Mike, how about this one at the SOTG? Does Malzahn get a new contract if UCF gets to the Big 12? He'd be the lowest paid coach right now in the league.
Yeah, there may be something already in his contract, Mohajir's contract also. I know that it was with Danny White and Heupel, I believe, that if we moved up to a bigger conference, they get more money. And if he doesn't get it right away, he'll get it by the end of this season. So I think it's going to come.
Yeah, I think he has to, Trace. I think that's a no-brainer. And I asked Mike this question. I'll open it up to the rest of the audience. And Trace, you had an answer. We were talking before the show started. Does UCF get this Big 12 invite if Heupel's still the coach right now? If we're coming off a 6-4 season and Heupel's still our head coach, are we a slam dunk? Are we one of the first 4, getting in, or are we not? I think that's a really interesting question, because I think Malzahn brought instant credibility. He brought a new energy. He brought a lot of things. A lot of eyeballs came to UCF instantly. And for those who may have soured on UCF and the Danny White stuff and 2-for-1s and championships and blah 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 blah, I feel like that got erased and forgotten pretty quickly as soon as Gus rolled to town. So I think he gets that extension right away, just to show that UCF's here to stay and that we're going to be a player in the Big 12.
Well, I would say that considering the fan base's reaction to Danny White, and boy, wasn't it just a couple of weeks ago we were lamenting scheduling, and now you're looking at maybe the schedules are starting to be built with this move to the Big 12. But Josh Heupel's linked to Danny White. Would Danny White perhaps rubbing some folks the wrong way? Would this have been a factor? I still don't think so. I think that UCF, considering where the Big 12 was a month ago, losing Texas and Oklahoma, this was still a logical move. So,
I think Paul Jones has it correct. Yes, but we lost to Boise. I think that's probably the right answer.
Well, now that's a different topic, right? Whether Josh would have made those in-game adjustments. We saw from the ESPN Plus series, you get a more seasoned, experienced coach in Gus Malzahn. Now, a question that we did not have really answered or get much insight into comes from UCF Feisty. How are we feeling about kicking this week? And my response in the Twitter feed was, well, the extra points went through. We still haven't seen field goals, and that still remains a question. And I know, Mike, you want to see big returns. Didn't see a lot in those kickoff and punt returns.
Saw a little bit. We saw, what was it? O'Keefe had one. Yeah. Amari Johnson on the first punt return took it back for a little bit. And by the way, did he get injured that nobody's talking about? Because for the rest of the game, it was Titus returning the punts.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I asked about Anthony Montalvo. I asked that of defensive coordinator Travis Williams on the Sunday night media availability, and he said that he was fine. And then Gus's availability on Monday, no one asked that question. So we don't, and it's the only media availability of the week. We got Gus and 2 players on Monday and nothing Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. So we won't see Gus again until after the game. Update women's soccer, 2 more goals. Ariel Young with a goal, and let's see who had the other goal. That came from Mallory Olson, leading Ole Miss 3-0 on the
Mercy
road.
Mercy rule.
Carolina coming to town. Adam, do you still have the soundbite from episode 146 of the Sons of UCF pod that you can bring up of Mike?
Do we have a censor on this show? Are you able to bleep stuff out? Because I'm about to say something right now.
All right.
Just mark it down the time.
Okay.
The cows.
Okay.
How's that?
Adam, just cue that up. Have that baby ready for every Thursday. We're just going to keep bringing that one up.
You guys just want me to say it again right now? Is that what you keep doing?
No.
Yeah, and I feel bad because he told me to mark it. He actually he gave me fair warning. I certainly had the time. By the way, behind the scenes, I edit this stuff. I certainly had fair warning to have gone in and made some sort of edit there. But we recorded early, holiday weekend. I'm not sure how many Pacificos Mike had prior to the show recording. So things were just a little weird for us, a little off schedule. So that's on me. Mike should feel free to be Mike, and it's my responsibility to clean all it up for you guys. And I failed you on that one.
It's a miracle after 146 episodes that really it's only happened once or twice, because I could have done this every episode. And we've had guests come on and slip up before. I think you need to find a new way to buzz it out, because that was kind of long. I just had a 1-syllable word there.
I was going for the comedy bit. I figured that the old beep wasn't going to work. I could do it. If you guys remember the old Heupel, we had a Heupel and the Danny White Sounders. After they left, I had my dear wife modify that to say, this is Tennessee head coach Josh. So I could do that, Mike. I could dub like Fudge or, Oklahoma or Shut the Front Door or whatever you need over the Sounder next time.
All right, let's work on that. I'll keep cursing and you keep editing them out.
That's what I need in my life.
All right, guys. UCF 1-0, Bethune Cookman, and hopefully it's a famous band coming to town Saturday night, 6:30 at the Bounce House. I will miss seeing both of you at any tailgating that goes on before the game. I know you'll be watching. You'll be talking about it on episode 147 of the show. And all goes well, I will be in Louisville 1 week from tonight, joining you in advance of that game on Friday night. So we'll have plenty to talk about. I want to thank Nick Patty for hopping on. I hope Nick will join us again throughout the season. And the Night of Laureate with the best backdrop that we've had all year on this show. Guys, the internet worked. And this is a wrap on the Sons of UCF Live. No jinx, Adam. We pulled it off thanks to 100 feet of Ethernet cable running from my router in a back bedroom.
You and 100 feet sound like a really good Friday night, Trace.
It's rivalry week, baby. Let's go. 2-0.
Right. Oh, you in the rivalry week. You're getting ready to put the cows in the Bethune Cookman category. Guys, it's been fun. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for the Sons of UCF Live. I'm Trace Strelko. Go Knights!